When developers tell you to play their remake of a title and completely avoid the original, it's usually because they don't want you to know how much their version sucks or how different it is from the title that was so popular in the first place, and that is what is happening right now with Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I have a few different things to show off, but before I get into the topic, if you enjoy the content I create, check out links in the description, join the community in my live streams, and consider supporting through Patreon or YouTube memberships. Now, I think it is absolutely wild that this developer is basically telling you, please don't play the original beloved game and play our new modern title. And I know there are a lot of fans of the Final Fantasy VII remakes out there, and that is perfectly fine. I quite enjoyed them, though they are pretty different. But unfortunately, it seems that there's not a lot of respect going on right now for the original, and it's basically just shut up and consume modern content. So, this is an article from Bounding into Comics. It says Final Fantasy VII Rebirth director recommends new players skip the original and get a first impression from the remakes, and ultimately, it's because they can't make money off of the original. I think it is absolutely insulting to say don't go and play the original and play our new version just because they want to make money. The only reason you got to make this game in the first place is because of the OG that was, in my opinion, way better. It says, though, rather than getting into the RPG classic via its original, now widely available on digital platforms release, hell, they're even bundling it with its Magic the Gathering pre-con commander deck. Final Fantasy VII Remake Trilogy director Naoki Hamaguchi believes new players would be better served by getting their first impression of the game from Square Enix's current return trip. Now, there are a lot of people who have not taken this well, a lot of people who are definitely voicing how they do not appreciate this mentality, which we'll get into in a minute. But it says Hamaguchi, who helms the remake series alongside the original event planner, offered his eyebrow-raising take on Cloud and Crew's big adventure during a recent interview given to Nintendo Life amidst a larger conversation regarding the upcoming Switch 2 port of Intergrade, which, by the way, I think is going to run like trash. Cyberpunk 2077 has ran like trash, Elden Ring, and also Borderlands 4 were delayed, and I don't see this running well either. The director was at one point asked as to whether or not he would recommend newcomers try this out first before moving on to remake, or would you prefer the opposite, to which he affirmed in a lot of ways that's a difficult question to answer. A lot of people say to me that if they could go back and play the original with no knowledge of the story and enjoy it for the first time, there'd be nothing better than that. The remake is designed to be enjoyed by people who have played the original and know it well, and also by complete newcomers who know nothing about it. So either way is fine. You'll enjoy the game and have a similar experience whether you've played the original or not. And if you have the opportunity, I'd like you to play the remake first and enjoy it as a fresh experience on its own. There are definitely nods in there, so if you've played the original before, you can see how we've reworked things, and that's a completely legitimate way of playing. But if you're not played it before, I'd kind of like you to experience the remake first with the new graphics and presentation and have that be your first impression of the game, which in my opinion is wildly disrespectful. I know he's not coming out and saying our version is completely better than that other one and that other one is trash. He's not going that far, but it is almost a slap in the face. I would always recommend to people, no matter what it is, play the original first, because the original is always more special. It is always more unique. And in a time where Square Enix has an internal ethics department that censors work, yeah, you're not getting the full experience by playing the remake first. I now almost never think that remakes are better than the OGs, and it says a bold and curious proclamation by any metric. He unfortunately did not provide any arguments to back it up, thus leaving it currently unknown just why he believes the remake trilogy to be superior to the first entry, which of course I think ultimately just boils down to money. They need as many copies sold as they can get, and they need as much money coming in for the remake so that they can continue to make titles like this, so they can make the third game, so that they can make other games in the future. If this remake doesn't make money, they don't have a career at Square Enix. They're not going to be able to make another game like this. So, of course, they're going to recommend their version first because they're making a hefty chunk of change off of it, which I just think sucks. I think that this is a very bad mentality to push. And I also think that he could have been a little bit more respectful about it. There are a lot of problems that a lot of people have with Intergrade and also Rebirth. Again, I personally am not the biggest fan of the remakes. I think that the OG stands the test of time. I think it's significantly better, but just taking a look on Reddit, for example, seeing what some people say about it. They're saying a lot of people here are talking about the stories of the games and are missing the real meat of the issue. Final Fantasy VII is a turn-based RPG, while Rebirth is an action RPG. It's not an upgrade, it's a completely different style of gameplay about the same characters. Rebirth does not replace the experience of playing the original Final Fantasy VII. It's not the pixel remasters of older FF games or the Last of Us style remake. It is a completely different game. The way you engage in combat, the way you equip your characters, the layout of the game world, the combat strategy, the secrets you find in the game are all completely different story-wise. It's the same characters and settings, but it is a completely different title, and I don't think people communicate that well enough. If you really want to get the experience of playing FF7, you have to play the original. If you don't feel like playing an older looking game and don't really care about in-depth continuity knowledge or anything, you could jump into the remake, but just know that it does not duplicate the experience of playing the original game. And that's what makes me so sad about the remakes, is that they are completely different. They don't feel the same. They don't play the same. Even some of the story is different. The way that some of the characters act is different. And it's too different. And I wish that they could just try to replicate the original and have a remake be closer in tone and gameplay and setting, just so that people can actually get something closer to that OG experience. And of course, because he said this, that he recommends new players skip the original and get the first impression from remakes, people are not taking this very well on social media. Terrible advice. That being said, I do enjoy the new remakes. Please don't play the original beloved game so you don't know how inferior our version is. Wait, so they literally made Rebirth a continuation of the original story and then tell everyone to skip the original? To me, it sounds like the director knows he effed up and that the original story was superior in terms of the stakes, emotions, and pacing. How about no? Absolutely awful advice considering how many things in Rebirth require you to know about them from the original. Are they even done making the games yet? They split them into like 3 or 4 smaller games and haven't even finished them all yet. Yeah, which really pisses me off. You take one single game and then you stretch it into multiples. Like, that is so infuriating. And of course, it's just a way to get more money out of people. Oh, we're gonna add a couple more mini games. We're gonna add a couple more segments. But by the way, guys, you're gonna have to spend $280 for the standard versions of these 4 titles. It's so infuriating. But the whole premise of the remake with the anti-fan ghosts works based on the player's knowledge of the original and their expectation of getting a faithful remake. Literally, Square Enix right now, no, you're still holding on. I think not. There are things in the remake and Rebirth that simply make no sense if you haven't played the original. While I recommend you say screw that and start with the original. Don't buy the OG that's $20, buy the $60 version. There would be no remake without the original. And yeah, I just think that this is a very disrespectful thing to say. Again, he's not coming out and saying, oh, the original completely sucks, and if you play it, you're a loser. Like, he's not going that far. But it's still very intentionally worded, and it's still very infuriating that they would recommend you just buy the new version, even though you need knowledge of the original to fully enjoy it. But yet, of course, they're not coming out and fully respecting the original, so it's not shocking to see people at Square Enix disrespecting OGs. We know that they have the internal ethics department that goes around and censors certain content, and oh, the original wouldn't be politically correct enough, so we have to recommend you play Remake and Rebirth, and you have to enjoy those games first. So I'm curious to see if he'll issue any sort of clarification. Of course, there is always the chance that maybe this was a mistranslated or his original intent got lost in translation. I always say that as an added bit of context, but it seems that he was pretty specific about his wording from what we know. Though that's all that I really had to discuss in this video. Let everyone know your thoughts in the comments below. If you found this important and informative, make sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you didn't, give it a dislike. I appreciate your support either way, but I'll talk to you all again in the next video really soon.